Hello and welcome to another episode of Damn Interesting Week. We are so glad you've decided to join us. My name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And this was a damn interesting week. So let's get started with our first link.
First link. Okay, from the LA Times. An amateur codebreaker may have just solved the Black Dahlia and Zodiac killings.
Oh.
Both of them.
Yeah, both of them. It's a bit heavy, but as we go on, we'll see if you can kind of stitch these together. So we're going to travel back in time when police questioned a Marvin Margolis after the murder of Elizabeth Short, who became known as the Black Dahlia. Now, the 22-year-old Short had been found mutilated in a weedy lot in South Los Angeles. She had been severed neatly in half with what detectives thought was surgical skill, and Margolis was on the list of suspects. He was a sullen 21-year-old pre-med student at USC, a shell-shocked World War II veteran who had expressed an eagerness to practice surgery. And according to a military psychiatrist, he was, quote, a resentful individual who shows ample evidence of open aggression.
And will probably murder someone.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's always the like, oh no, there were tons of red flags. Like, this is not a surprise to anybody who knew this guy, apparently.
Right. Now, at first, Margolis did not tell detectives that he had lived with Short for 12 days at a Hollywood Boulevard apartment 3 months before her January 1947 murder. Margolis later admitted they had lived together, but he soon moved to Chicago and changed his name, frustrating further attempts to question him. Well, a generation later and hundreds of miles north, a killer who called himself the Zodiac terrorized the San Francisco Bay Area with 5 seemingly random murders from 1968 to 1969, taunting police and media for years with letters and cryptograms. Now, the toughest to decipher was the letter that he sent in April 1970 to the San Francisco Chronicle with the words, "My name is," followed by a 13-character string of letters and symbols. It came to be called the Z13 cipher, and its brevity has stymied generations of PhDs and puzzle prodigies. Now we travel to present time to meet Alex Baber, a 50-year-old West Virginia man who dropped out of high school and taught himself code breaking. He now runs a firm called Cold Case Consultants of America with victim advocate investors and inherited money. I mean, you know, what are you going to do, right? Yeah. So to attack the problem, here's what Baber did. He used artificial intelligence and generated a list of 71 million 13-letter names. Then, using known details of the Zodiac killer based on witness descriptions, he cross-checked those names against military, marriage, census, and other public records. Quote, "This takes me 9 months of working 18 to 20-hour days. I'm starting to eliminate layers. Too tall, too short, wrong race." So finally, he narrowed the candidates to one. The name that he found buried in that Z13 code?
Ted.
It's too short, Bradley. It was Marvin Merrill. Now, who is that? Well, it was the alias Marvin Margolis adopted after Short's murder. In fact, it was the name he had lived under till his death by cancer in July 1993 at age 68. Although it should be noted his gravestone bears the Margolis name. So it may take time for expert consensus to emerge. But according to Rick Jackson, who was a homicide detective for 36 years, both at LAPD and San Mateo County Sheriff's Office, quote, "In my opinion, these are solved cases. There are too many links with both. He left breadcrumbs all along." So in early 2025, Baber presented Jackson with his conclusions, and Jackson was skeptical because the era of internet sleuthing has seen a proliferation of screwball solutions to unsolved crimes. But he was also intrigued because he tried hard and could not find obvious flaws in the theory. So Jackson enlisted his former partner, Mitzi Roberts, who knew the Black Dahlia case intimately as a former detective on the LAPD's cold case unit. Mitzi said, "You really need someone on the case full time, and that's a big ask for a department low on personnel. Someone like Alex Baber is, quote, exactly who you needed." So as their fascination deepened, the retired detectives alerted the crime writer Michael Connolly, who explores the investigation in a new podcast, Killer in the Code. Connolly found Ed Giorgio, a mathematician who served as the chief code maker and code breaker for the NSA, who agreed to check out Baber's solution to the Z13 cipher. Now, Giorgio said many people have approached him over the years with similar claims, all of which were easily debunked. But, are you ready for this? The Zodiac code was generated by the keyword Elizabeth. So how could they miss all of these signs back then? Los Angeles detectives had initially considered Margolis a viable suspect in her murder, but in the original investigation, they erred in assuming that Short was kidnapped soon after she was seen at the Biltmore Hotel on January 9th, 1947, while dismissing evidence she had been alive and free for days afterwards. And that evidence included the account of a police woman who claimed that on the day before the body's January 15th discovery, she found Short at a downtown bus station, sobbing in fear that an ex-boyfriend was stalking her and wanted to kill her.
Wow.
So, this mistaken timeline permitted Margolis to peddle a convincing alibi.
That's weird, though. We always believe women in that situation.
Yeah. A woman who's being stalked being reported by a woman police officer, it's
That's
airtight.
right.
No one's going to question that.
That's right. Yeah, he was in the top 10 suspects in the DA file, but then because of the timeline wonkery, he got pushed to the back. And then he vanished.
It basically seems like this guy was a real clear suspect for the Black Dahlia murder, but it's the fact that he was also the Zodiac killer that kind of was the missing connection.
Yeah, and the guy lived a full life, for whatever that's worth. He ran a restaurant in Atascadero. He worked as an engineer at Intel in Santa Clara. In the early 70s, he ran Buck Savers Automotive Repair and Parts Supply in Oceanside and got a 30-day jail term plus 3 years probation for defrauding customers. But it was his interest in art that proved critical in catching him, according to Baber. Because Baber approached Margolis' son, the dude had several kids, Rourke Merrill, and Baber said, listen, I'm researching your dad's World War II service, and as it turned out, Rourke Merrill had inherited a weird drawing from his father and kept it on his own office wall. The sketch is called Elizabeth. It depicts a woman who is peering with one eye through a curtain of hair hanging over her face. She's naked from the waist up. The torso bears a series of marks that might be stab wounds amid an area of shading that suggests blood. And it's signed Marty Merrill, 92, reflecting another alias he used. So...
Excellent office art. You should totally hang that up. Oh, God. This whole thing.
You know what? It helps you work, right? It's the art that helps you work. Now, Baber also thinks he found the so-called murder room that eluded investigators for nearly 80 years. This is the place that Short was killed, drained of blood, and cut in half. Baber thinks it was 2615 Santa Fe Ave in Compton. This is a cluster of standalone bungalows, and it's one of the few area motels in 1947 that had a bathtub. And on the night before the killing, according to newspaper accounts, a nervous young man had been driving between motels in the area, desperately seeking a room with a bathtub and claiming his wife needed it. Here's the clincher. At the time, that Compton bungalow complex was called the Zodiac Motel. That was the key to where she was murdered, as well as his future moniker. So the former cold case detective and the LAPD, they've all been made aware of the new findings. The case is not one of the department's priorities. They may never take a position and say it's solved, but...
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, let's get him to find J. Edgar Hoover now.
Right?
Yeah, I'll tell you what they need to do. They need to keep an eye on that son, because I don't believe for a minute that he's completely well-adjusted. I'm not saying he's a murderer, but like if you get raised by that kind of person, you've got some trauma, and maybe he should talk to somebody.
Yeah, and someone who is not just the painting that's in his office. I assume he talks to that sometimes.
Yeah.
Next link?
Next link.
This article comes to us from 404 Media. It's titled, In the Dark Arctic Deep, Scientists Find a Hidden Oasis of Strange Life.
Ooh.
Okay.
Researchers found the thriving ecosystem some 2.2 miles under the Greenland Sea using a remote-operated vehicle during the Ocean Census Arctic Deep Extreme 24 expedition in 2024.
Okay.
Quite the name.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like I'm going to go see a monster truck rally, but
Right.
deep into the ocean. So, gas hydrate seeps are patches of seafloor that release large amounts of gases, such as methane. Giuliana Panieri, the chief scientist of the expedition and lead author of the new study, recalled yelling out with excitement when the team received the first visuals of the seafloor hotspot, which the researchers named the Freya gas hydrate mounds. It was crazy because we saw several of these mounds which are filled with gas hydrates and all the organisms living there. At a water depth of almost 4,000 meters, you have these dense oases of organisms. And there's a photo of some of these life forms. You have a worm-looking thing that looks like it has a tapeworm extruding from it.
Ew.
You have a ghost shrimp-looking thing. You have something that looks vaguely like a dustpan, but it's a fish. You have a thing that looks like a stick with a lot of orange globs on it. I don't know. And then you have one that literally just looks like a clam. I mean, I guess it's a clam or something.
Yeah, he's probably a clam. Yeah.
Yeah, they have those down there, I assume. So Panieri and her colleagues decided to explore this region after massive plumes of gassy bubbles were detected. One of these plumes measured 2 miles in height, making it the tallest plume of this kind ever found in the oceans. While the team expected to find geological activity, they were surprised to see this wealth of gas-stuffed mounds leaking crude oil and methane, as well as the ecosystem of tube worms, snails, crustaceans, and microbes that are fueled by chemicals from the seep. In addition to discovering this biological hub at the Freya Mounds, the team also explored ecosystems living on hydrothermal vents in the nearby seafloor in the Fram Strait. The expedition revealed that the organisms living in the hydrate seeps and the vent systems are related, suggesting an ecological connectivity in the Arctic that is absent in other parts of the ocean. Study co-author John Copley, a professor of ocean exploration and science communication at the University of Southampton, said, "The Fram Strait of the Arctic is a rare place where deep-sea vents and seeps occur close to each other. The deep Arctic is also a part of the world where there aren't as many deep-sea species overall as other regions because deep-sea life is still recovering from when a thick ice sheet covered much of the ocean around 20,000 years ago." Gas hydrates also store huge volumes of greenhouse gases like methane, which could potentially be released as ocean temperatures rise, making these environments a bit of a wild card for climate predictions. To that point, these seeps are also potential sites for resource extraction through offshore oil drilling and deep sea mining.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you know what? These clams might taste really good, you guys. We need to find this out.
Yeah.
Deep pressure clams. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For me, too, like even zooming out even more, it's like, well, that just proves there's life on other planets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jeff Goldblum had it right. It finds a way.
Next link.
Next link.
Well, this comes from Popular Science, and I think everybody's getting a big cold front. So this is the coldest body temperatures humans have survived.
Oh.
So we are homeotherms, meaning that our core body temperature stays roughly consistent. Temperature drops that disrupt this balance, as we know, can wreak havoc on our bodies, which are roughly primed at 98.6. That's a whole different rabbit hole to go down and how we got there and how inaccurate it is, but we'll go with this. When we get cold, our bodies respond by reducing blood flow to our skin, shivering to generate heat, and trapping warm air near our skin with goosebumps, which I had no idea that was the point of goosebumps. But in extreme conditions, our built-in warming methods fail and our body temperature starts to drop. Once it drops below 95 degrees Fahrenheit, the body has officially entered hypothermia. And, this can be disastrous for the body, but in rare situations, it can actually be beneficial to enter hypothermia. So mild hypothermia, a body temperature between 89.6 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit, has just subtle symptoms. Patients might report just feeling hungry, sick, or confused. Their skin becomes pale and dry. But below 89.6 degrees Fahrenheit, the body has entered moderate hypothermia. Patients feel lethargic and their heart rate and breathing slow. The brain and its internal thermometer short circuit at these temperatures, leading to bizarre behavior such as paradoxical undressing.
Oh.
And in severe hypothermia, so this is now below 82.4 degrees Fahrenheit, the body starts to switch off. Blood pressure and heart rate plummet even further. These symptoms make it all the more incredible that in 1999, radiologist Anna Bagenholm made a full recovery after her body temperature dropped to 56.7 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, wow.
God.
So what happened? Well, she fell through the ice while on a ski trip, and spent nearly an hour and a half immersed in super cold water.
Oh my gosh.
By the time rescue teams reached her, she was clinically dead.
Yeah.
When she was pulled from the water, rescuers intubated her and began CPR. They continued that until doctors hooked her up to a heart-lung machine for 3 hours while she warmed up. She then spent a month on a ventilator. Her blood stopped clotting. Her nerves were damaged. Her internal organs malfunctioned. But despite all of this, she survived. And 5 months later, what do you think she was doing again?
Oh, out on the ice again. She's insane.
Of course she
Yeah.
was. Undeterred by her brush with death, it says.
Wow.
Yeah. In 2014, a toddler named Adam wandered out of his grandmother's house in the village of Rocklewice, north of Krakow. The temperature was 19.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Adam was found hours later, unconscious and unmoving. His body was so stiff that they couldn't intubate him.
Mm.
Like Bagenholm, he was hospitalized and connected to a machine that breathed for him. Despite his body temperature dropping to 53.2 degrees, Adam made a full recovery and was discharged after 2 months. You know, with the full, too, I'd like to have some follow-ups on that. Hey, Adam.
Sure, with a toddler, you don't know what his potential was.
Right,
Maybe he was going to be Einstein, and now he's just average.
And now he just has severe nerve pain all the
Yeah.
time, too, right?
I mean, the nice thing is when you find one of these frozen, apparently dead bodies, apparently they're still trying.
Yeah.
So that's good. Optimism.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So how did they survive? Researchers think there are multiple factors at play. At regular temperatures, the brain has relentless demand for oxygen and other nutrients that is greatly reduced by lower temperatures. And although ultra-low temperatures slow vital neural activities, they also slow those that control cell death and destruction. So Niklas Nielsen, an anesthesiologist at Lund University, says the medical community has always been aware of potentially protective effects. Like, for example, during open heart surgery, surgeons will fill the heart with a liquid called cardioplegia. So in the hospital, the lowest recorded temperature of a human has been cooled to 39.6 degrees.
Wow.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was recorded in 1961. That's a while back. So I don't think we're doing these things much anymore.
No, yeah, that sounds much more like, hey, let's find out how low we can go.
See what happens. So these studies are evidence, at least according to Nielsen, that low temperatures should not make the treating team think that the patient is beyond recovery, like you said. And if we include induced hypothermia as an example of low body temperature in 1961, then it's, 39.6. If not, Adam Young's survival at 53.2 takes the prize for the lowest body temperature. Again, what his prize was, probably nerve pain.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we should not do is share this information with the nation's dads, because then they should be like, see, you can't turn the thermostat up. It's good for you. It's good for you to be that cold.
Next link.
Next link.
All right, well, I'm going to ask a pretty inflammatory question. And if any of our listeners have children within earshot, I do apologize. But have you guys heard of 6'7"?
Yes.
Yep.
I refuse to Google it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you don't have
worry.
to. You'll know
There's
by the
nothing
end.
to Google. Yeah.
So the trend is a little interesting in the sense that for once it's not being pushed by teens, but by younger kids, right? Because it wasn't 8-year-olds who were eating Tide Pods, right? It was teenagers, because it's always teenagers. But I just got back from Christmas with my in-laws, and I'm not kidding. My barely 6-year-old nephew made a bunch of 6'7" jokes. And to be honest, I probably didn't endear myself to his parents because when he did it, he didn't do the hands. And I was like, buddy, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. So I was encouraging him. But the thing is, I know from personal experience running a summer camp that if the adults start doing it, it's not fun anymore and the kids will stop. Just a tip. Anyway, the point of all this is that the YouTube channel Numberphile has taken advantage of the 6'7" phenomenon to bring us a video of cool number facts about the number 67. So to start with, 67 is of course a prime number, but 6 and 7 together are also a perfect prime pair. What this means is that 6 is a perfect number, meaning that if you add up all of its divisors, in this case 1, 2, and 3, you get the original number 6. And perfect numbers aren't super common, but there are others, such as 28, whose factors are 1, 2, 4, 7, and 14, which again add up to 28. After that, you have to go all the way up to 496. So we're getting into big number territory pretty quickly when it comes to perfect numbers.
This is also another way to kill 6, 7. Just describe this to them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to math the heck out of this. And it's going to become so nerdy and boring. But if the very next number, or the perfect number plus 1, is a prime number, then you now have a perfect prime pair, which can be useful in mathematics, but the reasons are complicated. So we're just going to leave it here with the observation that 7 is prime, so 6 and 7 work. Also, 29 is prime, but 497 is not actually prime. It is 7 times 71, so it doesn't get to be part of a perfect prime pair. In fact, if you want to know what the next perfect prime pair is after 28 and 29, it is 33550-336 and 33550-337. And that pair, of course, ends in 6 and 7. So that's fun. Another thing they looked at was the appearance of 6, 7 within mathematical constants. And of course, it does appear in pi because every combination appears in pi. But it's maybe a little coincidentally interesting that the first instance of 6 and 7 next to each other happens to be the 99th and 100th digits of pi. What they really wanted to find, though, was a constant in which 6 and 7 were the 6th and 7th digits. And it turns out, yes, there is one, but it's kind of hacky because there's something called Champernon's constant, which is literally 0.1234556, etc. So obviously 6 and 7 are going to be the 6th and 7th digits in that case. Beyond that, unfortunately, they couldn't find any. But going back to prime numbers for a second, we mentioned that 67 is a prime number, and it is also a sexy prime number.
Oh, it is. I felt it.
Yeah. It sounds silly, but it is a real thing.
Okay.
A sexy prime number is one that is 6 places away from the next prime number, sex being the Latin root for 6.
Fine.
Well, it does get better. In fact, 67 is part of a sexy triplet with 61 on one side and 73 on the other. Which, if you're going to be in a sexy triplet, the middle is the best place to be.
Hey!
Also, 67 is a super prime. Now, what that means is that if you write all the prime numbers in a list, 67 is in the 19th position, and 19 itself is a prime number. Now, if 19 were also in a prime position in the prime list, then 67 would get to be a super prime, but it's not. 67 is, however, also what's known as a fortunate prime, named after the mathematician Rio Fortune.
Hey?
What?
Yes, it's a fantastic name. Now, fortunate numbers are a little complicated. What you do to get them is you multiply the prime numbers in order to get what's known as a primorial. So 2 times 3 is 6, that's a primorial. 2 times 3 times 5 is 30, 2 times 3 times 5 times 7 is 210, and so on. Now, if we take those primorial numbers and ask how many steps away is the next prime number not counting 1, that distance is a fortunate number. So 6 is a primorial. We don't count 7 because that's 1 away, so the next prime would be 11, or 5 steps away. 5 is a fortunate number. If we look at the primorial 30, we don't count 31. The next prime is 37, or 7 steps away, so 7 is a fortunate number. And as I'm sure you've already calculated in your head, 67 is the fortunate number you get when you multiply all the primes between 2 and 31, which is a very large number in the 200 billion range. Add 67, you now have another prime number. Now, why does this matter? The thing is, none of it really matters, like just in general, but also in math. But the thing that's so mystifying about prime numbers is that there seems to be no pattern, and we really want there to be a pattern, right? So we keep finding the patterns that we can find in the hopes that it will shed light on the larger predictability or not of prime numbers in general. And the interesting pattern with fortunate numbers, which so far hasn't been proven but is an official conjecture, is that all fortunate numbers seem to be prime. And what that does is help us look forward to figure out what the next prime number might be once you start getting up into the really, really high prime numbers where discovering a new one is actually a big deal. But we're not even done yet, because 67 is also what's known as a lucky prime.
Oh.
And again, this is mostly just playing with patterns for pattern's sake. And the algorithm for calculating mathematically lucky numbers is too complicated to explain without visuals. So if you want to see how it's done, go watch the video. But the TLDR here is that 67 is a lucky prime, and that's somehow useful in a number theory sort of way. And this is the point in the video where the two mathematicians start talking about OEIS. Like, oh yeah, obviously I checked OEIS. And what that is, it turns out, is the online encyclopedia of integer sequences. It's basically a massive collection of every function and algorithm and complicated number pattern that anyone has ever made up, and wow, is it deep, and it's fully searchable. So if you want to go exploring and find all the sequences with your favorite numbers in them, you can go to oeis.org and lose your dang mind. I played with it for a while. It's fun, but like you can feel the nerd like seeping into you. It's really difficult.
Perfect. It's like the inoculation against like the 67 being some kind of kid prank.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because also the site is designed really horribly, like it was made in the 90s, which it probably was. It's just, like you said, it's an inoculation against the internet at large, I think.
Yay! Science protects us again.
Yes. Next link.
Next link. All right, from El Pei, why we lost the habit of sleeping in 2 segments and how that changed our sense of time. Because if you didn't know, most of human history, a continuous 8-hour snooze was not the norm.
I'm on board with this because I don't sleep all the way through the night, pretty much guaranteed. I'm awake at about 4 a.m, and then I'll go back to sleep a little bit later.
That is so normal.
Oh, good. No one has ever told me I'm normal.
Well, it's just the way that we live now is not normal in terms of what the norm used to be. So it's not an evolutionary constant to have continuous sleep. That's why many of us still wake at 3 a.m. and wonder if something's wrong. And they say 3 a.m. but 4 a.m., you know.
Right. Well, it's time zones, you know.
Exactly. And it does change the way we experience time, which might be why recalling the time might feel weird too. It's a very deeply human experience to have this because for most of human history, we did not sleep for 8 hours straight. Instead, people commonly slept in 2 shifts, and they just called it a first sleep and second sleep. And they were separated by a gap of wakefulness for an hour or more in the middle of the night. Now, we have historical records from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, and beyond that describe how after nightfall, families would go to bed early, then wake around midnight for a while before returning to sleep until dawn.
I think Ben Franklin was famously biphasic like that as well.
Oh, well, don't out him like that now that he's dead. Just kidding. Now, breaking the night into 2 parts may have actually changed the way time felt because having that quiet interval gives nights a clear middle, which can make long winter evenings feel less continuous and easier to manage, just broken up into chunks. And that's because that midnight interval was not dead time, it was noticed time. Some people would get up and tend to chores like stirring the fire or checking up on the animals. Some might stay in bed to pray or contemplate dreams. We have letters and diaries from pre-industrial times that mention people using those quiet hours to read, write, or even socialize quietly. And if you were a committed partner, many couples took advantage of this midnight wakefulness for intimacy. And we have literature that goes as far back as ancient Greek poet Homer and Roman poet Virgil, containing references to an hour which terminates the first sleep. So what happened? How did we lose our second sleep? Well, the disappearance happened over the past 2 centuries due to profound societal changes. One of them, artificial lighting. It began turning night into more usable waking time. So instead of going to bed after the sunset, people started staying up later into the evening under lamplight. And biologically speaking, bright light at night shifts our internal clocks or our circadian rhythm. And that made our bodies less inclined to wake after a few hours of sleep. If you're bathing in ordinary room light before bedtime, well, you're suppressing and delaying melatonin, which pushes the onset of sleep later. And of course, the Industrial Revolution transformed not just how people worked, but how they slept, because factory schedules encouraged a single block of rest. Now, we've done some multi-week sleep studies that simulate long winter nights in darkness. People in lab studies end up adopting 2 sleeps with a calm waking interval. We kind of return back to that norm. There was a 2017 study of a Madagascan agricultural community without electricity, and that found people still mostly slept in 2 segments and usually got up around midnight. And there's also a 1993 study of Icelandic populations and their descendants who emigrated to Canada, and it found these people showed unusually low winter seasonal affective disorder, so low SAD rates, which suggests that genetics may help this population cope with a long Arctic winter. There was some research from the Environmental Temporal Cognition Lab at Keele University that shows how strong this link between light, mood, and time perception is. They used 360-degree virtual reality and matched UK and Sweden scenes for setting, light level cues, and time of day, and had participants watch 6 clips of about 2 minutes. And they judged the 2-minute intervals as lasting longer in evening or low light scenes compared with daytime or brighter scenes. So how does this work with perceived insomnia, how we sleep now? Well, if you're waking up in the middle of the night, listen, this is normal, okay? It often appears when you're transitioning between different stages of sleep, including near REM sleep, which is when we're doing the most vivid dreaming. What matters the most is how we respond during these wakings. And part of that is because the way that our brain experiences duration is kind of elastic. We can be anxious, we can be bored, but if you're engaged and calm, it actually compresses our sense of time. So without that interval that you got up and did something or chatted with your partner, waking up at 3 can make time feel much slower. So what do? Well, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia advises people to leave bed, do a quiet activity in very low light. Then when you get sleepy again, just go back to bed. And sleep experts also suggest covering the clock. Let go of time measurement when you're struggling. It's like a watched pot, never boils, right?
Yeah, the problem with that is I'm sleepy again at around 8 o'clock, which is when I got to start work.
I was going to say, yeah, I'll tell my dogs that I'm just getting up to read, guys. This isn't about you. You can just stay in the
stay
bed.
there. You don't need to go outside.
Tending to the animals was one of the uses, so it may be like midnight potty walk and everybody comes back in dry and empty.
All right, well, that is all we have time for today. We're so glad you've joined us. Some of the articles we did not have time to get to today include why some ants traded armor for numbers, a new way to look at Mobius strips, and scientists are no closer to finding a cure for the common cold. So all that and more, plus everything we talked about today, can be found on damninteresting.com. If you like our podcast and want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/damninterestingweek. In the meantime, my name is Jennifer Lee Noonan.
I'm Angela Epley.
I'm Spurr-Chen.
I'm Bradley Calhoun.
And we hope you have a damn interesting week. Bye-bye.